Okay, a little after 6 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the warrants. We have a payroll warrant for $78,291. We have a payroll deduction warrant of $21,931 and a vendor warrant for $27,636. I'll make a motion that we approve the warrants. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have a couple of items on the agenda that we're going to table. The first one is to approve the contract with Diversified Project Management for the owner's project manager services. That is still, we expected that to be ready for tonight. It's not ready yet, so we're going to table that.
I'd like to give one brief update, which is
Yeah.
that we have made tremendous progress on it. There's only one very small issue, a technical issue regarding insurance we're working on the COG with, and once that gets settled, we'll be ready to move on.
That'll be great.
So
Thanks.
are we hoping to sign it at our next select board meeting? Is that
Yes.
the hope?
Next week.
Great, and that works out from the timetable as soon as we can
Okay.
get that done. That'll
Hey, Jim.
go for it.
Hi.
Hey, Jim.
How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
I apologize for being late.
That's all right.
My mind was fixed on 6:30 instead of 6.
We just briefly started the meeting. We just have to sign those.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, the Hampshire Power contract. Again, that's something that we need to review more closely. We're not ready to take a vote on that tonight. We'll table that.
We're going to table the minutes too, right?
Yes, table the minutes for tonight. Next item is a review of the FERCog local technical assistance priorities. Everybody has a copy of these in their folder. Has everybody reviewed them?
I did. I actually passed mine into Tom a few days ago.
And I have a delightful thing we can do on that. I did compile what I got, and what we need to do, the best thing to do would be to make a couple of quick decisions. First on the planning project. Two of them came in tied. If we could come up with some.
Okay, I think the two that were tied were zoning bylaws and regional impacts from closure of Vermont Yankee. I'd like to suggest that zoning bylaws are probably a little bit more important to us.
Oh, I agree.
Is that
Absolutely.
is that good? Okay, so
Okay,
two will be zoning bylaws, and I guess three will be regional impact.
And then, if you could just take a moment on the regional projects, the top priority came out as regional library collaborations. The second, and there were a couple different methods people used to submit their priorities, and I did my best to even them out. The second priority, there's a cluster of three, as there is in the third and fourth. So if you could have just a brief discussion of how those lined up, we can be done.
Great.
Okay, on number two there, what do you like for the first one?
Actually, I've been to some of the select board continuing
I
education
like
workshops. Those
that.
are fabulous.
I like that.
Yeah, I
as
like
well.
that one.
Many of our area cohorts have said that as well.
So finance is second,
Yeah, I could see that. Sure.
and the Conservation Commission agent is third.
Sure.
How's that, Tom? Okay. Under three, we have broadband adoption, the FERC relicensing that the FERCog does along the Connecticut River, and animal control. I'd again like to suggest that broadband adoption is probably the most relevant for us.
Absolutely.
I might suggest that animal control would be second.
I agree.
And FERC licensing third.
Yep.
All right.
One note on animal control, as long as we're talking about it. I've been talking with both Ginny and Jim Cerrone, and we'll have a proposal to nominate, to appoint him as animal control officer for the town.
You're talking about Joe Colucci. You said
Colucci,
Jim
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's a new person.
In July, and I think that will solve a lot of, it'll clarify a lot of murky issues right now.
Well, he's the dog officer right now, isn't
Yes,
he? Yeah, okay. So that animal control will take in a wider range of,
which it did by statute in August,
okay,
and I think it'll work really well.
okay. In number 4, we have also 3 items. We have Regional Service Center, Regional Opiate Task Force, and the MGM aggregation. Would you guys like to suggest the number 1 for that?
I'd say the order they're in makes sense to me, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, me
top
too.
and bottom.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
All right.
And, okay, and we have 1 in 5th place. I'm surprised the Human Resources audit came in that low, because I placed that pretty high.
All of it is up for
Rearrangement or
up for
something?
rearrangement discussion. This is our recommendation to the COG for what to spend money on.
And this is under the regional projects
Yes.
page, so I think I kind of looked at that as, obviously, we're working with the grant that Tom got through the insurance agency for our internal human resources audit and work. So I sort of saw that as a regional issue, is not quite that important for Conway. So
Okay.
that's why it kind of ended up down
You
there
know,
for me.
the 2 items on the bottom, I put those, I meant to put the first one under our own planning projects, the downtown and village center sewer and common septic facilities.
Okay, I can link those.
Can you put that up there somewhere?
Mhm.
Okay. And the other one, hazard mitigation plan implementation assistance, which is a regional, priority.
I know we work with the COG in getting our plan together, and it's coordinated with all the other plans.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion on these priorities? No? Okay, next item on the agenda is to accept the regional mutual aid agreement. Yeah, Rick, you're involved in this, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, through MEMA, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, and also the FERCOG, they've basically been working on a shelter program or plan for all of Franklin County for quite a number of years. So they finally got that together with a lot of help from area EMDs and so on. So this is basically an agreement to a mutual aid agreement between all the different towns, and the FERCOG is highly recommending that we participate and therefore sign this, as does MEMA, and I totally agree.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the Franklin County Regional Shelter Plan as presented by the Franklin Regional Council of Governments. Do I have a second? All
Yeah,
in
I'll say
favor?
that.
Okay.
Who seconded that?
I second it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, next item is new business under town administrator budgets. Tom?
Yeah. And I put a few of them in. I went through the whole list, and Jan and I divvied up a bunch of the town ones. The top one, though, is the actual administrator budget, and I'm proposing just a few changes. One of them is that I look forward to going to all of the STAN meetings and the MMA meeting, and perhaps 1 or 2 other conferences, so I'm proposing bringing the mileage up to 300. Oh, and the salary, I know I'm not supposed to fill that out. I just wanted to give a potential preview to show you what the bottom line, so that the bottom line, you can compare that to last year's.
Yes, yeah.
I'm having postage stay the same, which I'm now sort of rethinking because I heard that first class postage is going up, maybe by 5 cents.
Oh,
That's
really?
what I heard. Nobody's talked about it at the post office, but I heard it on the news.
And that
5
that,
cents.
Okay.
that would be about it would be about 5 cents on a 46-cent stamp, so maybe a 10%.
52 cents.
Oh, so maybe a 10% increase, 900 to 990 or 1,000.
So you're talking 1,000.
For that would probably be better. Dues and conferences, I'm also,
Do you have enough in there for that?
I'm suggesting 230. I get the MMA conference paid for if I go to the 5 STAM meetings, which are free.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that would not be free would be the Division of Local Services, law training, the Mass Managers Association, and if I went to a Mass Municipal Personnel Association meeting. And one of those each per year can do wonders to bring you into a broader perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm suggesting 230 for that.
You sure that's enough?
Let's,
I'm sure the board would support any of these conferences that
Yeah,
you want
absolutely.
to attend.
I think that'll be fine for it's really still my first year, and
Okay.
we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
I'll see if there's anything I really needed to go to that I didn't. The telephone, I'm bumping up a little bit based on current expenditures. This is a fairly old, these are fairly old numbers on this sheet. I think they go through November. And based on that, it was heading more towards 4,000 than 3,600.
Actually, that's going to change dramatically because we ended up
true.
recontracting with Crocker. So
So
the
let's not
monthly,
change it.
Yeah, actually, what we'll do is between the telephone and the internet, we'll have to revisit both those figures because the
Yeah.
telephone's coming down $107 per month starting this month. Our first bill that's been reduced, so that's going to be $600 less. And then the internet, once we hook up to Mass Broadband 123, which should be hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, that'll jump for our internet connection. So in the end, between the two of them, it'll probably be about the same, but we'll probably want to switch those. So I'll be able to get those numbers together for you within 2 or 3 weeks for those two line items.
Okay. The copier, I'm having that stay the same. I do expect us to get a new copier. I want to put an item on the annual town meeting for that. This is old, and if the wrong part goes, we'll be out of commission for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And that would just be a lot of pain. But I think the maintenance fees are going to be relatively similar, so I just put it down for the same amount. Advertising I brought down a little bit. There has been a lot in the past. I don't anticipate as much in the future.
Okay.
For supplies, I brought that down based on past expenses. Looking at the budget and looking at the expenses, I think the budget is double what
Right.
the expenses
Right.
have been, so I've cut it in half, or a little bit
agree.
more actually.
Okay, that's good.
For repair and technical services, this includes IT consulting support. Brought it down a little bit. We haven't used quite so much. And with any luck, all of our IT will be consistent and harmonious, and we'll have one contract for the whole town to do a lot of stuff. If we don't, I have enough to do what needs to be done here.
Okay,
But it's down a little bit anyway, because in expectation of some of that.
okay, great, looks good.
That's the administrator, proposal for the administrator's budget.
So Tom, on the last one, even though you don't have a .00, did that add up correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a formula. Yeah. And if it didn't, that's Excel's fault.
There we go.
It's a formula cell there. Do you have any, what do you have next?
Building
Uh,
maintenance?
Building maintenance,
Building
okay.
maintenance.
These are stabs in the dark a little bit. Some of it's based on past usage. The electricity for the buildings and the outdoors is based on past usage. Bringing the buildings down a little bit and bringing the other one up a little bit. Partially based on how much we've expended already this year. I don't have a good sense for the seasonality of the outdoor electricity use. So that's a bit of a stab in the dark, but it's something down there. Building maintenance, I figure will stay the same. I thought about bumping it up, but we've spent so little this year that I'm not sure.
And we're gonna be spending out of that
If,
account.
if we spend, if we buy the snow blower, that's
Yeah.
where that will come out of.
And actually, there's some repairs in town hall I want to get done. So, yeah,
Okay.
we'll spend it this year.
So, yeah, I'm, is there any reason to bump it up,
Bump it?
do you know?
Probably not.
Okay. Rent for the sheep barn, I'm figuring will stay the same. I don't have figures yet for heat oil. We'll get those as part of our bid through the Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative. Propane I bumped up based on the amount expended in fiscal year 13. We brought it down for this. I'm not sure why we brought it down for this year. But if we expended, over 11,000, I
Yeah.
figure budgeting for 12 is safe.
Yeah, it's propane is going up.
Building repairs, what did I put down under that?
Went from 3 to 25.
Bringing it down a little bit again based on past.
Passes, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, just based on past expenses. Thanks. And then, those are all the custodial supplies, level funded, grounds maintenance, level funded. I do wonder, there's one issue with the Conservation Commission where I found a letter from 2000, I think, telling the Conservation Commission that they were responsible for mowing a particular property in town, because that was part of their deal in accepting the property as conservation, was that it needed to be maintained as a meadow. And so they were paying for the mowing for that. And this is for any one small thing, I think it's $200 or $250, something like that. It really doesn't make a difference. I think the question for the select board is if the Conservation Commission engages or accepts lands that require maintenance, then that has a different implication for the town's duties regarding that land, as opposed to something that doesn't require maintenance. And back 13 years ago, the decision was you made the agreement, you do the maintenance required for that land. Maybe it's time to look at that again, because it doesn't make any sense to have them engage their own mowers to do something. Why don't we do it through the same way? But does the town want to take on the responsibility for maintaining all the conservation land, which could, it's just something for the board to think about in the
Yeah.
Okay,
future.
all right. Okay.
Legal. Brought it down to 10,000 based on current expenditures. Now, I know that we may have some legal action in the future. But again, based on current expenses, I don't see that we're not going to be able to absorb that in a $10,000 budget.
Okay.
It's hard to predict,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
but why Why not bring it down?
Kind of related to that is the reserve fund, which I think last year, I think in all the negotiations, we were going back and forth about, do we really need it this high, should we bring it down? And I think we were trying to be conservative, like, let's keep it at 30. I think 30 is, maybe it's 30 or 40. I
No,
can't
it's
remember.
40. Yeah.
It's 40. So I think
Yeah.
from the standpoint of this line item and maybe some others we talked about in the budget, if we keep that hefty reserve fund, I think, you know, that's going to cover any of these possibilities, and that's what it's there for. And if we don't spend the reserve fund, it goes into free cash, but,
Yeah.
you know, again, so I think 10 is probably okay.
And if the legal problems resolve themselves, then I think we can bring it down even more for fiscal year 16.
We were expecting there might be something else this year that didn't materialize, so that's why there was the 15.
Okay. I also just threw in a select board budget that pretty much level funds
Sure,
everything,
yeah,
just to get it on the table.
okay. Yeah, that looks good.
Things that I have not yet included, the FERCog assessment, the vote on that will be January 30th. Veterans, no word yet on what that is. The concern has been, and I don't know whether you've covered this before, that with veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, whatever town they settle in is the town that needs to budget for them. And this was causing a lot of angst in a lot of places. And I don't have good guidance for how much to say here, except that it's good to have a little bit more than you need in this particular fund, just in case somebody moves into town. Good to be able to take care of two people instead of one, let's say.
As far as FERCog is concerned, I'm on the FERCog Finance Committee. Count on the assessment going up 10%.
Okay.
Okay?
And that would be the discretionary, or the total assessment, or,
Total.
because they're statutory?
Yes, there's statutory and there's,
Whatever they call it.
Whatever it's called, yeah, the other one. The one we signed
It's
up.
fee for service.
right,
Yeah.
yes. I forget, but it's 10% all total.
Overall.
Yeah.
I know the budget for the accountant is going up by somewhere around 10%, based on the need to restructure that program so that they don't all burn out and destroy the program. So,
Yep.
all right. And happy to turn over to you, the budget for the Personnel Committee, which I pulled out earlier just to look at. They got some money. I'm not sure what they were planning on using it for, but I'm sure
Last
Susan
year's
and Bob-
discussion was
This
around.
was for the handbook.
Well, it was for the handbook, but more pertinent, it was for educating the employees. I think the committee was possibly thinking about hiring Sue Fenton
Right.
or somebody appropriate such as her to do that. And that's why we allowed a larger amount there, which I don't think maybe we have to worry about so much. But again, I'm not sure, we'll see.
I think it's something that we should keep in. If we don't use it, we'll,
I would advocate for some training, and I think that's gonna come out also
Right.
through our current audit.
Well, presently, I think there's still a hefty balance in this year's, because last year so I think so again, maybe thinking for the year ahead, if we get the training done and the money's here, then again, we don't generate more free cash. So just, maybe we can kick the butt of this new personnel committee guy and let's get that training done, pay for it, and go from there.
And there is also there may be the opportunity to get some training through Maya or their employee assistance program. The catch in that is that they need a certain number of bodies before they'll come out and do something. So it's a question of working with the other regional towns to see whether or not a program can be put together where we can guarantee 15 people, let's say, for various topics.
Okay.
Oh, and have a copy of the school budget as well,
Oh, excellent.
That's great.
in case anybody wants to look at that.
Yep. Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Next item is the proposed town caucus date of March 3rd. Our town clerk is all set with that, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, so March 3rd is it?
We have an election coming up that quickly?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it's just the caucus.
I know, but still,
Yeah.
it's a big part of who
Seems
we're
Pretty
gonna
soon,
be voting
doesn't it?
for.
Yeah.
So without objection, the general consensus is that,
Yes, March 3rd sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, we have no items that were not anticipated in advance. Next item is the town administrator update. Tom?
right, where did I do it? Just put it away. Here it is. I met with the Parks, Recreation and Trails Committee and Weston and Sampson regarding the Mass Works grant for the ball field. We reviewed the next steps and a timeline for bidding the project, which is part of Weston and Sampson's role according to the grant that was submitted, which is a relief to me. We'll be having a conference call soon about the cash flow schedule and reporting requirements, and I'll be doing the grant administration on the town side.
Okay, and when do we expect that conference to be, conference call? Do we know?
Soon, they might call it for this week.
Okay.
They're anxious to bid the project because there are a lot of people who aren't working now, and the closer it gets to spring, the more people will be working.
Mm-hmm.
It seems most likely that the field will have to close for the full 2014 season, including for the Festival of the Hills. Although the work will probably be done at that point, it's not guaranteed, and a crowd would be detrimental to any newly seeded grass.
Right.
So, quick
In
question.
okay.
Is the Parks and Rec going to be talking with
The
the
Festival of the
folks?
Hills?
Or is
Oh,
that,
I'm sorry?
are the Parks and Rec going to be talking to the Festival of the Hills folks about this wrinkle in their plans, or is that our job to be letting them know?
I was under the impression that someone on that committee was going to speak with them, but I will double check that.
Okay.
Do we have any plans for a substitute field for next year?
Well,
There
how
was-
about your backyard?
Yeah.
I have a feeling, and I've said this over and over and over again, that this project is just an awful mistake. I will continue to say that. I just, some of the stuff requires some common sense rather than $1 million worth of expenditures. I don't care if it is a grant. It's somebody's money, and part of it is our money. And I think we've been too very free with just saying, oh, let's spend it. When part of what happens is the ones who are pushing the hardest for this are the ones who expect the whole town to pay the price of maintenance, because it's going to increase the maintenance, all the other stuff. And it's not that big a percentage of the population that wants to spend a whole lot of money, but the whole town winds up footing the bill. And I think we need to think about that before we vote to spend a lot of money. I may want some things, but I'm not going to ask the whole town to pay for what I want. And we've got some folks who seem to think that's okay.
Well, Jim, I will make the point that 2 years ago, at town meeting, where many of our townsfolk show up and make all these big decisions about how we spend our money, voted, I don't remember whether it was overwhelming or not, voted to put forward $90,000 for all the engineering permitting studies to do this project. So when you say a few people in town,
Somebody voted for
the
it.
democratic process,
Yeah,
the
I
town
know.
meeting
Okay.
said yay on this.
Okay.
Just like the school folks that came and got people to say yay on the school budget, which many of us thought was way beyond what we wanted to spend. But again, it gets down to these town
The-
meetings where when people speak with their votes, showing up and
Yeah.
raising their hand,
I know.
we may have our opinions. And I'm not saying I don't value your opinion, I'm just saying that that's what the town wants, and the way we know that is through the vote of town meeting.
Yep.
So I support this project because of that, because of the dedicated folks on Parks and Rec and others that spent many hours, lots of energy, got this passed at town meeting,
Yeah.
and have continued and will continue to put a lot of time and effort into it. And I think in the end, it will be a wonderful improvement in our beautiful town ball field, and it doesn't affect it is tax money from the state standpoint, we all pay state taxes, but it doesn't affect our tax rate for the town, which again is our primary focus, I think, when we talk about our budget. So
Yeah.
I just want to stand up.
You're
because
right.
I'm working with the Parks and Rec folks on their
Yeah.
liaison, and I kind of
Yeah.
really appreciate the effort they put in. So
I know they put in a big effort.
so that's sort of why I feel I have to speak up.
Okay.
The audience appreciates your comments.
It's my guys.
Tom?
Yeah.
I've also, speaking of projects, I'll be meeting with Kimberly McPhee at the FERCog on Thursday to discuss next steps and a timeline for the South River 319 project. That meeting's at 3, and then that'll flow into a advisory committee meeting for the cooperative inspection program, so I'll be just leaving early Thursday afternoon for those meetings. Our personnel consultant has started meeting and speaking with people for our risk management grant. We're due for a report from her by the end of February. There may be suggestions that should be considered for the May town meeting warrant. We had a problem with the town garage boiler and had to have an emergency repair call. Based on advice for the technician, I've scheduled a general cleaning. I guess that's usually an annual thing. The earliest they can do that is March 6th. So, good to get it scheduled.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Okay.
The financial, and speaking of fixing things, our town poster board had become unhinged, and
Terrible.
How'd that happen?
Ronald Hawks was just manhandling it, I guess, somehow. Someone lifted it up too high.
Oh, okay.
And Ron Hawks fixed it in about 20 minutes. That's
All right, kudos to Mr.
Yeah.
Hawks. I know we had our
Hey.
best technicians on that earlier in the week, and they couldn't figure it out, so
And,
Mr. Hawks,
Yeah,
deserves
he's
a lot of
good
credit.
at fixing things. He really is.
I love that guy.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
I had he and Bob Baker were both here, and Bob looked at it and said the lines are already cut inside, so there's no electrical issue with the alarm vault, which is up there. But I had them remove that because the bulletin board is not in the best of shape anyway. It's a little awkward, and when it does need to be replaced, the standard sizes that are out there now are 6 inches higher than the one that we have, and would be impossible to place there. So, just thinking for the future, I was thinking that it would have to be replaced anyway. Now it doesn't, but they took the alarm down, and the old alarm down anyway. It's all rusty and whatnot, but it will allow a better bulletin board in the future sometime when we get that.
Good.
The financial team met today and is continuing to make progress on understanding the existing special accounts and moving toward closing them when possible. We're also working on making sure special articles are closed out. At that point, the extra work that our town accountant has taken on to clean up the books will be done, and she can focus solely on the regular needs of the town. And that's to say that she's been doing a fantastic job going into all the financial nooks and crannies that we have and making sure that they're all dusted nicely, and we have a very, very clean books moving ahead.
Good. Okay, great. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, I think we've heard some concerns of the selectmen, so we don't have to do that. We don't have any mail. Any other announcements anybody has?
There's one thing, a number of folks, and I've mentioned this to Tom and we've talked to Ron, some folks, including myself, really like the way they're treating the back roads now with a gravel mix in with the sand. Some people don't like it. Having driven, being the one who drives the back roads on a regular basis, along with Mark, our other mailman. The two of us think it's much better to drive on and safer than it is with just pure sand. The other thing that someone brought up in regards to that was they went to get sand and all they could find was the gravel mixed in at the shed. And there was no salt in it, if either of you have been down there.
No.
When I went to get a little bit of sand, bucket of sand last week, there was no salt mixed in with it that I could see.
Okay.
So it's just something to mention, and I'll talk to Ron again about that. I haven't seen him and talked to him since that last part came up.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jim. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 20 here in the town offices. If there's nothing else, I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.